He's a legend. And when he has time in his insanely busy schedule, we are blessed with his presence. Mark Jones, the voice of the NBA, at least sometimes. And he was the voice of the NBA when the Warriors were last in the NBA Finals, at least for a part of it. He's certainly the voice of the NBA with ESPN, one of them. Mark Jones, he's a legend. He's also a voice of the Sacramento Kings. He's got NorCal roots. His daughter Sophia joins me once a week for V for Valkyries, and he joins us next. The man's a legend. It's an absolute thrill anytime he takes time out of his busy schedule to join us. We're talking hoops. We're talking Warriors. It's Mark Jones. It's the Golden Daze.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. Leave me alone this summer.
Woo! Let's go. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on, man. Welcome to the Golden Daze. I am your host for the afternoon, Cyrus. Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. Over on Twitter, my handle is at Surf Journalist. The program is on both platforms at Golden Daze Pod. At some point, I will get on the Blue Sky tip. Mark Jones is on Blue Sky. That's why I thought of that. But for now, those are the places you can follow myself and the program. And before we join, or before we have the voice of the NBA, Mark Jones, joining us, got to give some love to the sponsors who are sustaining us, who are paying the bills, who without them and without the audience, we don't exist. First up, Decades, the band. They're a cover band. They play music from every era from the 50s to today, whether it's Chuck Berry all the way up to Katy Perry. They play my favorite band, Tom Petty. They're playing every Niners pregame red zone rally next door to Levi Stadium at Great America. They're so badass that I should be sharing my visual of them. But besides that part of it, where you can see the badassery of Decades, they played a set for Eddie D, the owner of the Niners, at his compound in Montana. We'll get Billy DeBono, their drummer, back on the show to share some stories about that, because I imagine that was a rocking party. The fact that Decades is a full-time band, this is their profession, that should tell you they know what they're doing. That customer satisfaction is a priority, that they succeed in wildly at that. If you need someone for, let's say, I don't know, a wedding, an anniversary, a birthday, maybe it's a company event like the good old Catalina wine mixer, and you need someone like Prestige Worldwide to pump up your event, I've got someone better than Prestige Worldwide. I've got Decades for you to play at the event that you need live music for. They're a 5-piece band. Again, they play pretty much everything that your heart desires in terms of music to liven up an event, and they are available for you. NorCal natives from Chico. They're also Golden Dazers. They're regularly at Warriors games. And if you email Kyle at atomicmusicgroup.com, again, Kyle at atomicmusicgroup.com, or just check out their website, decadesofficial.com. Again, decadesofficial.com. You can hire them. Mention Golden Daze for a discount. You can also mention my name. Just mention anything affiliated with this program. They'll take good care of you. Follow Decades on Facebook and Instagram at decadesofficial. Go to decadesofficial.com for more information. Book the band. Have some fun. Thank me later. Today's episode also brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Never mind that baseball's in full swing. You've got the NBA Finals. You've got the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. You've got the French Open. You've got action out there, UFC, golf. You can bet on all of it. You can even bet on where prospective free agents may go next in the NBA. Not just free agents, we're talking players under contract that might get traded. If you feel strongly that the Golden State Warriors are going to add Giannis Antetokounmpo, you can bet on that with BetOnline. And let's say you've had a long day and you're home, you poured yourself a stiff one, hypothetically, maybe you've lit one up, you're kicking back, you're relaxing in your palace, and you suddenly have the urge for a Vegas-style environment in your own home. BetOnline can provide that for you. They've got the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. And speaking of games, and more specifically the game of basketball, and more specifically the NBA, I've got the voice of the NBA. I've got a man who is in your living room a lot calling the biggest games in the sport, him and Mike Breen. His name is Mark Jones, and he joins us next here on the Extreme. I was about to say the Extreme Scene. Oh, that is a program I hosted from 2000 to 2012. That was a long time ago. Here on Golden Days, let's have Mark Jones join us. An absolute delight to have Mark Jones, the voice of NBA basketball, on our program. It's an absolute pleasure. Mark, how you doing, sir?
Oh, man, doing great, man. Can't wait for these finals to play out, and then after that, unplug for a little bit. But this is the favorite time of the year for me. You're able to watch the two best teams in the NBA do their thing, and this is what we all build for and wait for, right?
Yes, sir. What are your thoughts, first off? I guess let's start there. The NBA Finals we're recording this on June 4th, which is day one, if I'm not mistaken, of the NBA Finals. I don't know if the network bosses are as thrilled about this as the basketball junkies are. Two of the smaller markets, OKC, Indiana, those might be the two smallest. Are they?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but they're probably in the bottom half.
I would guess OKC's dead last, but and I could be wrong with that. I'm just spitballing, but and then Indianapolis has this is definitely down there. Are you, as someone who's as connected as you are the brasses, are they freaking out? Are they welcoming this? What's your perspective on it, and what's the network's perspective on it, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I think it might ultimately be a case of short-term, very short-term, hopefully pain for long-term gain because they are the smaller markets, and it might take a little bit of an adjustment for people to realize that LeBron's not in the finals, that Steph's not in the finals, that, some of the traditional names that we're used to seeing, KD in the finals, that era is slowly being phased out, and we're being introduced to an entirely new group of stars with, SGA and Tyrese Halliburton and Anthony Edwards. So there's always a little bit of a psychological mind shift amongst the general fans. But if you are a true basketball fan, if you are a true NBA fan, then this is a great series. I mean,
yes.
The two best teams remaining. You have a historically good OKC team that won 68 games this year, who just happened to have the MVP on their team, who led the league in scoring, who led the league in 20-point games, 30-point games, 40-point games, 50-point games, and has been phenomenal against this group of, the little train that could, Indiana Pacers, who absolutely nobody was talking about back in October in terms of winning the NBA championship.
Correct.
And here they are doing their thing, having toppled the reigning champs, the Celtics, beaten the Knicks, taken out two top market teams along the path to the championship, with Tyrese Halliburton, who's playing as well as anyone right now, who happened to be voted the most overrated. I don't know who is in that poll. I think it's a little spurious and questionable, but that's another conversation.
And he's not winning that again, right? I think that's the last time that's going to happen.
No, that never made any sense to me. But I think it's a great matchup. And if you really love basketball, styles, right, Cyrus? You've got the high-paced Pacers that stack action on top of action, and they're always in constant movement. They play as fast as anybody in the league, against OKC, who had a historically good defense this year. They were top 5 in both defense and offense. I think I know they're number one in defense, and I think it was number 3 they ended up in the regular season in offense. So, the Canadian element with Andrew Nembhard is going to be probably tasked with guarding SGA, 2 guys that played on the Canadian national team together in the Olympics in Paris. Tyrese Halliburton playing as well as he has. I think it's going to be a very intriguing series. And despite what, the money line is and the odds makers say, I think it's a 6 or 7 game series. I really do.
Ooh. I hope so.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm trying to speak it into existence. Part of me is putting it in the universe so it happens.
Yeah, and I love that. Because it can't hurt. Who knows? We have, as human beings, such little understanding of the way this whole existence works to begin with. We're trying. Scientists are trying. But so who knows? Yeah, I mean, maybe the good energy will translate. Because I personally intuitively feel that OKC is going to just kick ass. And it's going to be, I predicted a gentleman's sweep. But I hope you are correct. And look, people have been doubting the Pacers for a long time. Pretty much since the start of the season, like you said, they might surprise people. One thing that I before we talk Warriors here, that I do agree with you, and I think you brought up something very interesting and pertinent here pertaining to this NBA Finals matchup, and that's you have the 2 teams in the league that I think are the fastest in terms of pace. The ball's going to move quicker than anything on a court, and coaches who understand that, I feel like immediately have a slight edge over any opponent that does not have a grasp of that idea that you can't keep up with the ball moving and certain things will beat you in terms of speed. And the Warriors follow a same mentality, a same principle, a philosophy where, if you can outpace your opponent, and that is a massively advantageous style of play. And the Thunder and the Pacers are the kings of this. And the Warriors are right behind them, but injuries derailed them and so forth. I guess what I'm trying to lead to is this the future of the NBA? Like, if you're not a team who plays at this pace, where you're moving the ball tremendously fast, it's frequent, where the defense just can't keep up, right? I think that's the goal here. Is this the future in terms of the style of play that will lead to success? Or do you think the style that LeBron has popularized, that Jordan has popularized, that the league has followed for decades, pick and rolls, right? Like a half court offense that's slow and methodical. Like, what do you see in the future? Is this the future? Is the future now? Your thoughts, sir?
I love the way the Pacers play, and to see how Rick Carlisle has evolved as a coach, personally, individually, and how he has brought this team along from year 1 to where he is now with this team. I think this is year 5 to be able to, they traded Sabonis, they got Halliburton, and that was really the catalyst. So when you ask, is this the way of the future? I think yes, it is, but it has to come with the requisite pieces and parts and talent. If you don't have the guys to play that way, then it's not going to work, because there have been times in the past, not that long ago, where some of the teams that led the league or were the top, quarter of the league in pace were not anywhere close to being the most successful team. So it's always going to come down to what kind of talent you have.
Good point.
And OKC, conversely, they played a pretty good pace too. They have talent on both sides of the ball, which is kind of scary. This is going to be a really interesting matchup. And don't put it by Rick Carlisle to throw a changeup in there, because I know that he saw the tape of Denver against OKC and the way that they were able to stretch that series to 7 games, and to throw in a lot of zone. It was a matchup zone. It was a 2-3 zone. It was a man that morphed into a zone a lot of times, and it made SGA play at a slower pace in the half court. And it forced SGA to be a better passer, a more frequent passer than he usually is. And I'm going to predict that that's going to be one of the wild cards that Rick Carlisle pulls out, because I've seen Rick at his best. I remember the 2010, 2011 NBA Finals when he was coach of the Mavericks, when everybody was picking I live here in Miami, full disclaimer. We were expecting a 4 or 5 game series against the Mavericks. And
Everyone was, I think.
Dallas won that. And part of the genius there was Rick. The other half of the equation there was Dwayne Casey, who ran Rick's defense that year with the Dallas Mavericks. But they came up with a hybrid type of defense that really confounded Miami. And I think that he's got something up his sleeve for SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And Rick Carlisle is revered. In the most recent GM survey, I think he was number one among all GMs surveyed in terms of I think the question was the best. Who would you have running your offense? He was number one, which was very surprising to me. I did not associate Rick Carlisle as being an offensive coach until I saw that survey last year. And you're seeing it now. He's a fantastic coach. Mark.
Yeah, and you know what, Cyrus? It's interesting because I can remember a time probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, speaking to an NBA scout and asking him about Rick and him saying, oh man, I just scouted them a couple of days ago and the guy made 65 play calls in the game. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he does. His point guard never has his head. And you look at where Rick was then to where he is now, where they play random with a lot of concepts. You see a lot of ghost screening and guard-to-guard screening actions with Halliburton and with Neesmith. And they have a lot of different triggers where they stack actions upon actions and they create space by cutting guys through. And it's a fun team to watch. You remember last year, I mean, they were at one point historically good offensively in terms of their offensive rating. So, part of being a great coach, I think, is being able to evolve, and Carlisle has certainly done that. And, Mark Daigneault, conversely, has done a great job with what he's had.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And such a contrast to, let's say, the 2000, what was it, 3 or 4 finals where you had the Spurs and the Pistons, just two slogging, defensive-oriented teams. And the crazy part is these two teams are excellent at defense. They're arguably the two best defensive teams. They're certainly among them, but that's not what you think when you see them play, right? They're fun, they're fast, and you think offense far more than defense. It's going to be fun, I think. I'm not bored. I don't think anyone's going to be bored watching this series. Safe to say?
I'm curious to see what the whistle will look like when it comes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and how frequently he's able to get to the free throw line, because that's going to be a big factor. And officials have shown a proclivity so far in the playoffs to let guys go a little bit. I did a bunch of games in that Denver OKC series. It was very physical. And I know that the Knicks and Pacers series was pretty physical at times too. And I like it. I enjoy freedom of movement, but I'm not sure that I enjoy seeing 70, 80-point first halves in basketball games.
I'm also accustomed to seeing you working this time of year. Like a case in point, the last time the Golden State Warriors were in the NBA Finals, you were on the call for most, if not most of the games because of COVID, which took out Mike Breen. This year, you're chilling, you're relaxing. Is that by choice? Did it just work out that way? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. I love being a spectator. I can remember that 2022 finals with the Warriors against Boston like yesterday. That was a highlight of my career, to be able to call the NBA finals. It was great, but I usually go, Cyrus, until about the middle of May, the next to last weekend of May, when the conference finals begin. That's when Mike Breen and his crew take over the rest of the way, and I get to stay at home and watch on the couch with my wife and yell at television and scream all kinds of crazy things and have my favorite libation beside me and
it's fun.
And I'm texting my coaching friends and my player buddies and my general managers. I'm like, do you believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's awesome. And obviously this is a Warriors show, and the storyline for this is going to be a fascinating offseason, I think, for most NBA teams and fan bases. I mean, just today I was watching on ESPN. What I do, my daily routine is watching NBA Today on ESPN, right? That's like as I slowly ease into the day, that program comes on and I'm like, great, that's an hour of just NBA fix. And a huge talking point today, pertaining to the offseason was like, where's Kevin Durant going to go? And that's just one of many storylines this offseason. I think we're going to see a lot of player movement. A lot of that is going to come from trades because so many teams are pushing the salary cap. So free agency, I don't think it's going to be as fun as it has been in years past, but it's going to be made up with trades and sign-in trades and movement like that. I could be mistaken on all this. This is just,
it's going to be wild. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the Warriors, I think their biggest question is Kuminga. Because what they decide to do with Kuminga is going to set up every other decision. Do you sign and trade him? Do you keep him? And Steve Kerr has said that if they do keep him, that he can make it work in terms of making him a more permanent fixture in the rotation versus how it's been the first 4 years where there's zero consistency in terms of minutes and otherwise. None of us knows how this is going to play out, right? I mean, all you can do is guess, unless you are the front office and or Kuminga's agent. But my question to you, Mark, is this is a very unusual situation where you have this up and coming potential star player. We have no idea what his ceiling is going to be in terms of Kuminga. You have this Hall of Fame head coach who is doing things his way, and in this case, it didn't work out. Are there comps to this? Like, do you remember any other situation in NBA history that is similar to this scenario? Because it's crazy to me.
It's mind-blowing to me, and I can't off the top of my head, I've been thinking about this for a while, think about a situation where, this is unique in the sense that you not only have a player-coach relationship being examined because of the player style and because of the way the coach offensively, philosophically likes to play, which is the crux of the whole issue, right? But then you have the fact that Kuminga he's one of one on that roster. The Warriors have nobody else like him. And,
yes, sir.
I think about Wiseman, right? And I wonder what the conversations have been like with Steve Kerr and the front office, Mike Dunleavy and ownership in the wake of Wiseman leaving, and what they collectively as a group might have done differently if they got another shot. And I almost see that as a parallel to what's happening now with Kuminga, in that he's got a little bit more mileage on him, a little bit more seasoning. He's shown himself to be a real talent that can make a contribution. I mean, they dusted him. They had formaldehyde going through his veins, and they unplugged him and put him in a game, and he put up 20, 25 or whatever it was a couple of times.
And the attribution, I thought, where he came out publicly and said, "I found my confidence again." It was almost like reading this out of a text. The whole thing was what, and then he did. He literally did. He started putting up 20 plus points a game. The whole thing is insane. Sorry to interrupt.
It really is. I can't think of another scenario like that's even close to this. I mean, there have been coaches who think that a player won't make it at a place, and a player that thinks he won't make it at a place, and dealing with in the second apron world that we're in now. I have a hunch. He's going to be a Warrior.
Same.
I just do. That's just my hunch. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know a bunch of things. I do know that people in Kuminga's camp in the past have, let me use the word restless.
Yeah. and rightfully so.
And they frankly look for an exit strategy, but when people sit down at a negotiation and you start talking about the future, things can get worked out,
Exactly.
Things can get worked out. So I'm guessing that he's going to be a Warrior next year. And I mean, you put him in the mix, you get a full training camp with Jimmy Butler. Steph is going to be Steph for another year because his longevity at 37 is way underrated. Everybody talks about LeBron at 40, but Steph is right there at 37.
Yes, sir.
And you've got the pieces to make something happen in the Western Conference, because everybody's talking about OKC right now, right, Cyrus? But hey, listen, you can't be balling on a budget. The rent is coming due with them soon. That mortgage note is coming up with guys. They're young and they're underpaid right now. So at some point the rent is due and they're going to have to pay for shit. They're going to have to pay for Jalen Williams. They're going to have to pay for a bunch of the guys that are getting buckets and playing defense for them. Hey, you don't think that Case and Wallace isn't on everybody's radar out there? You don't think that Wiggins is on every other team's radar out there to come in and poach? And that's what I love about the NBA right now. We're talking about the new style of play in this new era of the NBA. We're going to have our 7th different champ in 7 different seasons, and I love it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Which is a testament to how awesome of an achievement it was that the Warriors pulled off the back-to-back. I know that team was stacked, but still, it's who knows when we're going to see that again. I think a lot of people thought the Celtics would pull it off, but they were a reminder of how difficult it is to repeat as a champion. And and I think when you talk about the Thunder, it goes to show Sam Presti's genius, right? Because you're right. Case and Wallace, who, side note, I believe was 3rd in the NBA in net rating, 3rd. And he's as a bench. That's the Thunder for you. And they're probably going to lose them, but they have 1,000 draft picks. I'm being hyperbolic here, obviously, but they have so many draft picks I think that's what the system. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see players like Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Wallace move on, get big deals, and then the Thunder are going to go, oh well, we only have 30 draft picks. They almost got the Sixers draft pick this year. That's crazy. Imagine if that happened.
The thing is, though, they're winning now, but the people of Oklahoma City will tell you, hey, it wasn't that long ago we were winning 22 games, and then we won 24 games in Dagnall's 2nd year, and it took a while to get to where they are right now. There was a lot of pain and a lot of scars along the way, so winning for them really is the only justification right now. It really is. They had some very lean years where they stockpiled all those assets. So, winning is the only panacea for them right now.
I love that word, by the way, panacea. And we have the brilliant, the talented, the voice of the NBA, Mark Jones, joining us. And you mentioned pain and suffering a moment ago, and the reason why I bring that up, and it's sorry to do this to you, Mark, but everyone associates you synonymously as the voice of the NBA. You are among the elite of broadcasters, and well, it's true. I mean, I'm stating facts here. You are literally one of the premier individuals covering the game, broadcasting the games. You're a legend, sir. Let me praise you, please. And I know some people are uncomfortable about that. And that to me is a sign of humility, and I respect it. But you deserve all the praise. What people are not familiar with you as much about, at least nationally, is that you have very strong Northern California roots. You are the play-by-play voice of the Sacramento Kings, on top of the NBA as a whole with ESPN. And the Kings went through a lot this year. Yes. How are they doing? How's the mood of the team? Are they optimistic? Everyone's talking about the Warriors and their fascinating offseason. What's in store for the Kings? Who's staying, who's going? Your thoughts, sir.
I think with the reset in front management, with Scott Perry coming in as the new general manager, BJ Armstrong as his assistant general manager, Doug Christie being named as the head coach, not interim anymore. I think I've sensed some tremendous alignment amongst those 3 elements, important ones in Sacramento. So, Scott Perry brings with him a wealth of experience, championship lineage with the 2004 Detroit Pistons, was in the front office there, helped build that. Helped build the Knicks to where they are, to where they came within a game of making the NBA Finals. A couple games. BJ Armstrong,
legend,
incredible player, incredible
agent. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's one of the big trends right now is hiring former agents as front office people, because you've grown these relationships with front office people through the years. And now you go over to the dark side, whichever the dark side is, right?
And did Bob Myers start that trend, do you think?
Yeah, Bob was one of them. Arn Tellem in Detroit. Phoenix with Babby. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, I think it's going to work. Scott has great NBA ties. And, when you look at Sacramento after that first year, 48 wins, being team number 3 seed. in retrospect, if you're really being honest, there might have been a little bit of system failure in being able to upgrade the roster in a year when the West was a little bit down. And that's not to discount the success that Sacramento had that year in becoming the number 3 seed. But
Right.
if you're not improving yourself, you're really falling behind. So, I think that Scott and BJ understand that, and they're able to stay a step ahead. They have proven track records. This is not their first, well, Scott especially, this is not his first time in being this kind of position. So I think that Sacramento is going to they're going to improve this year. And on the shopping list, the first thing is being able to get a point guard because the Kings don't have a first round pick.
Right. Well, and they traded De'Aaron Fox, right? And,
Yes,
and I think
yes.
Malik Monk was the plan for the point guard position. And I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but you do want some depth at least, and maybe some other options. And
The Kings went from having Fox and Halliburton in the backcourt to having to find a point guard now, which is kind of weird. Got Zach LaVine back, got Sabonis back, some great players, but it's just it really underscores kind of the unpredictability of how this business can be at times.
Big time. And this is I'm sharing this graphic real fast because even the sports books are having some fun with where players could go. And I showed this on the program the other day, but I wanted to show this to you because one player on the Kings who's being mentioned by the odds makers in terms of possibly leaving and going to another team is DeMar DeRozan. The odds makers have him going to the Miami Heat as plus 145 odds. The Lakers, Raptors, Nuggets, and Sixers are other teams that are associated with DeMar DeRozan. Is he going to actually go? Is that the name that people are talking about? Are there any other players on the Kings that might move? Your thoughts on that?
They've got enough talent to be able to be in the trade market. When you look at DeMar, who's a 6-time All-Star, and Zach LaVine, who's a former All-Star, and Sabonis, who's a 3-time All-Star as well. It all depends how they want to play and what they want to do with that talent, because that's where our chips are. That's where the chips are with those three. Like I said, no draft capital out there, and I would bet that DeMar was pretty happy last year. I'll say that he was extremely happy being in Sacramento. He's happy to be closer to home, to be able to visit his family. It was, it's an hour and change flight down to Los Angeles from Sacramento International Airport, where his people are and his daughters. And I know that he enjoyed being a Sacramento King. Beyond that, there are things that become available as the summer progresses. So we'll see.
The Kings have a lot of tradable assets. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of players that you could get a lot back for by just trading one player. DeMar DeRozan is going to get interest if you do decide to trade him. So even though, like you mentioned, the Kings are decimated in terms of their draft picks, they still have assets to get draft picks back. Again, this offseason is fascinating. There's almost every team has issues that they want to resolve. And I think you're going to see some interesting stuff happen. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think this is going to be quieter than the way it's being hyped up?
I think it's going to be very, very seismic. I think I'm not saying Luka Doncic type trades, but there are going to be some prominent names moved around. I forgot to mention Malik Monk too, as a guy that is in that group of Sacramento Kings players that, when you look at valuable pieces, a guy that, that other teams probably covet as well. And I know that Doug Christie, just getting back to Sacramento, Doug wants to have guys that can defend. And I think there was an imbalance in the Kings starting 5 last year in terms of guys that can guard. If we're being honest, if we're looking at guys that can defend the basketball and bring that defensive rating up from 19th or whatever we ended up at into the middle of the pack, then but it was a fluid season last year. So, the reset button has been hit.
Every time I hear the word fluid, I always think of your ESPN colleague, Stephen A. Smith. It's fluid. It's fluid. I don't know why that always comes. Anyways, it makes me laugh. I know you got to go. Before I leave you, sir, I want to play this clip because your daughter is a part of this program, Sophia Jones. She was once my student at San Jose State University, and
She had a great teacher in college. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Well, I would respond by saying she had a hell of a father who paved a beautiful path for her, and you did a phenomenal job, sir. So I'm honored to have your daughter as a part of this. She comes on once a week for V for Valkyries. It's our weekly show that covers the Golden State Valkyries. She also is now the color analyst for the Golden State Valkyries. And her partner in crime in the broadcast booth, Kevin Dana, who I consider a dear friend, posted this clip that I like to play for you, sir, just to get a proud papa moment, if you don't mind. This was a couple weeks ago when the Valkyries got their first franchise win, and here is the play-by-play call at the end of that game, resulting in a Valkyries victory.
4.7 to go, and they got a foul. They don't. Thrown ahead to Carlo Wade. She will lay it up after the buzzer, but the Valkyries win 76-74.
And the first win in Golden State Valkyries history. 76-74. Like you said, as the Valkyrie violet confetti is raining down here in Chase Center.
Oh, the fans are loving it. What a win here for Golden State, who improved to 1-1 on the season and hand the Mystics their first loss of 2025.
How did
love
you
it, love it, love it.
That's your progeny, my man. How does this?
Man.
How are you feeling about all this?
Man,
it's incredible.
Her and Kevin does a great job on the play-by-play. Outstanding play-by-play.
Yes, sir.
Love listening to him. I have the two of them on my app, on my phone, on my laptop, on my computer, on my iPad. So, because when I'm out of market, I've got to be able to listen to it on the app if it's not on League Pass. But yeah, they do a great job, and I love that comment on the first win because I always tell Sophia, remember you're on radio, so you have to describe the scene. And she said, confetti coming down from the rafters as they get their first win. I said, it's not television, it's a different medium. So it was a great moment. It's been fun listening to the two of them, and they're doing a fantastic job. And the crowds, they're selling out their games, 18,000 plus. I mean, I wish I could be in the arena for every single game, but I'll get to a few before the season's over.
It's awesome. It's great to see. I can't even begin to imagine how you feel watching this, the growth of this individual, because she used to be a guest when I was doing the previous show. And I even remember like my former co-host on that show telling me like, what are you doing bringing on like a college basketball player as a guest? And I was like, you don't get it. You just don't get it. Like you got to nurture talent. This is someone who will be a star, and we're seeing it right before our eyes. And I can't thank you enough for just, being a huge part of her life. I mean, the one piece of advice I always give her, sir, is listen to your dad. Like, just listen to your dad. Everything he tells you, just do it, because you are who you are, man. You're one of the best who have ever done this. It's incredible. Anything I missed before we go, sir?
No, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad that she had a wonderful influence in you and being able to learn under you at college. And when she signed her national letter of intent to go to San Jose State, that was part of the reason why, that she was guaranteed a great education no matter what happened in basketball. And I'm appreciative, my wife and I, Sarah, both, for you being a very important, big part of her journey through the classrooms and beyond. So thanks, man. And yeah, keep doing your thing, man.
I mean, all I do is just help when I can, but she's doing this on her own, brother. And congratulations to you and your family. I can't, again, I don't know if I'll ever understand how this feels, but I imagine it's insanely beautiful and incredible and amazing.
Basketball's been a part of our lives, all of us. So this is a great chapter being authored by Sophia now. We appreciate it.
I love it. And Mark, people can follow you on Blue Sky, Mark Jones, ESPN.bsky.social. Long story short, the handle is Mark Jones, ESPN on Blue Sky. People can follow you there. And if I didn't forget anything, we're done. Did I forget anything?
You know what? Next time you see me on national TV will be the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas.
There's going to be a different
can't
world.
Wait to call Cooper Flag's first game on ESPN.
Beautiful.
As an NBA player, anyway.
The landscape's going to be so different by that point.
So here's the thing. I think it's going to be, don't quote me on this, we could have a Cooper Flag against Bronny.
Wow.
First night, opening night game.
Didn't even think about that. The
Be
Cooper
kind of fun.
flag. So, that's a
Yeah.
spectacle. Looking forward to that. Enjoy
Yeah.
your summer, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And that was the great Mark Jones. You have no idea how elated I am that him and his family were part of this. It is awesome. Life is crazy. I hope Mark enjoys his vacation and his daughter, Sophia. You can catch her every Monday at 3 p.m. right here for V for Valkyries, a little show we do covering the Valkyries and, of course, the Golden State Warriors. And we're going to have plenty more Warriors coverage for you here as well all summer. It should be a roller coaster of a season. Stay tuned. Thanks again to Mark Jones. Thank you to you, the audience, for being a part of this. We don't exist without you. So thank you sincerely. And we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.